Hello all, welcome to the Modeling Guy. Today we will explore one of the most common questions in finite element analysis: how to choose your element type for your finite element mesh. In this video we will look into solid versus shell elements. By the end of this video you will know exactly which one to use for your real world simulations. So stay tuned for the tips at the end. In finite element analysis, everything we model is built from small pieces called elements. And when it comes to structural analysis, there are mainly two kinds: solid elements and shell elements. These two behave very differently, and knowing when to use which can make or break your simulation accuracy is very, very important. Alright, so we know the two main element types, solids and shells. But what actually makes them different? Let's take a closer look at the key distinctions one by one and understand where each type truly shines. To really understand the difference between solid and shell elements, we will break it down into four main aspects: what each one actually models, how they handle thickness, when to use each type, and finally how they compare in terms of computational efficiency. So now let's start with what these elements actually model. So let's start with how geometry is represented. Solid elements capture the complete three-dimensional shape of a structure. Every bit of its length, width, and thickness is explicitly modeled. This means the mesh actually fills the volume of the part, giving you a detailed view of what happens through the thickness, which is great for stress gradients, contact problems, or non-uniform loads. Shell elements, on the other hand, simplify things. Instead of filling the volume, they model just the mid-surface of thin components like plates, panels, or sheet metal parts. The thickness isn't drawn, it's stored as a property in the element definition. That saves a lot of computational effort while still capturing bending and membrane behavior accurately. Now, let's talk about degrees of freedom, or simply how each node in your mesh can move. In solid elements, every node can only translate, meaning it can move in the x, y, and z directions. That's 3 degrees of freedom per node. There are no rotations here because solids are defined by their full 3D continuum. Rotations come naturally from how the element deforms in these 3 directions. Shell elements, however, are a bit more advanced. Each node not only translates in x, y, and z directions, but can also rotate about those 3 axes. So in total, each node has 6 degrees of freedom, 3 for translation and 3 for rotation. That rotational flexibility is what lets shell elements capture bending behavior accurately, even though they are only defined by a surface. Now that we have seen how solids and shells differ in their degrees of freedom, let's look under the hood, that is, at the mathematical foundation that governs how they behave. Solid elements are based on three-dimensional elasticity theory. That means they solve for stresses and strains throughout the entire volume, across the length, width, and thickness. Every deformation, no matter how small, is captured using the full 3D stress-strain relationships. Shell elements, in contrast, are derived from plate and shell theories, like the Kirchhoff or Mindlin formulations, which simplify the math by integrating through the thickness. So instead of solving for every tiny layer, shells use a smart mathematical shortcut to represent bending and membrane effects accurately without all the heavy computation of a full 3D model. In short, solids go all in on physics, so shells rely on smart approximations. Alright, so we have looked at how solids and shells are built mathematically. Solids use full 3D elasticity while shells rely on plate and shell theory with smart through thickness integration. Now let's zoom in on one of the biggest practical differences: how each type handles thickness. This single detail can completely change your simulation setup and results. Now let's talk about how thickness affects your mesh. For solid elements, you need several layers of elements through the thickness. That's how you capture stress variations from top to the bottom. If you use only one layer, the results won't be realistic. especially for bending or shear cases. Shell elements make this much easier. You only need one surface mesh. The solver automatically takes care of the thickness inside the math. So instead of meshing a full 3D block, you just mesh a thin sheet, much faster and usually just as accurate for thin structures. Let's now talk about how thickness is defined in each case. For solid elements, thickness is a part of the geometry. You build it directly into the mesh. The model has real depth and you see it in 3D. For shell elements, it works differently. You don't draw the thickness, you assign it as a property. The solver knows how thick the part is even though you only mesh the mid-surface. This is what makes shells so efficient for thin structures. Now, let's see what happens inside that thickness. Solid elements can capture stress changes through the entire depth. You can see the stress gradient from the top to the bottom. That's why they are great when you expect non-uniform stresses like bending, contact, or layered materials. Shell elements work differently. They assume a simplified, often linear, stress variation across the thickness. This works well for thin parts where stress doesn't change much through the depth. Alright, we have covered what the model and how thickness is handled. Now let's talk about something that every analyst cares about, computational efficiency. How much time does it take to solve? How heavy is the mesh on your computer? This is where the real difference between solid and shell element shows up. Now let's talk about element count. This plays a huge role in computational efficiency. For solid elements, thin structures need many elements stacked through the thickness. That increases your total element count, and every element adds more equations for the solver to process. More equations mean more memory, more computation, and longer run times. Shell elements are much more efficient. You only need one layer of surface elements, even for large, thin parts. With fewer elements, the solver has less work to do, so your simulation finishes faster. Now, let's talk about solution time and how long it actually takes to run your model. Solid elements are slower, especially for thin wall parts. They need several layers of elements through the thickness, which adds a lot of nodes and equations for the solver to process. But the real slowdown comes from the time step. In explicit or transient simulations, the solver chooses its time step based on the smallest element dimension, usually the element thickness. When elements are very thin, the dimension is tiny. Smaller elements mean smaller stable time steps, and that forces the solver to take thousands of more steps to complete the same simulation time. Shell elements, however, don't have that problem. Their thickness is just a property, so the smallest dimension is much larger. That means bigger time steps, fewer cycles, and much faster runs. In practice, shell models can solve 5 to 10 times faster than solids, sometimes even more, with similar accuracy for thin structures. Now, let's talk about memory use. Solid elements need a lot more RAM. They have many small elements and nodes, especially in thin parts. Each node adds equations for the solver to store. That quickly increases memory usage and even slows down your system if it runs out of space. On large models, this can become a real problem. Shell elements are much lighter. With fewer elements and nodes, they use much less memory. That makes them easier to run on big models or when your computer has limited RAM. Alright, so far we have seen how solids and shells compare in accuracy and efficiency. Now the big question, when should you actually use each one? Choosing the right element type can make your model simpler, faster, and more reliable. Let's go through a few common situations to help you decide. So, when should you use solid elements? Use them when the part thickness is not small, when it's comparable to its length or width. In these cases, the full 3D stress field matters. Solid elements are also the right choice when you're dealing with complex 3D stress states, like in joints, corners, or contact zones. They can capture the through thickness effects that shells simply can't. In short, use solids when the thickness is important for the physics of your problem. Now, let's look at few biomechanics examples where solid elements make sense. Think of thick bone structures like femur or skull models. They have significant thickness, so the 3D stress effects are important. Next, bulk soft tissues, muscles, organs, or fat layers. They deform in 3 dimensions, so solids capture their behavior better. And finally, medical devices like implants, connectors, or stents with complex shapes. Solid elements are ideal when geometry and material response are both critical. Now, when should you use shell elements? So go for shells when the structure is thin and wide, when the thickness is much smaller than the other dimensions, usually less than 1/10. They are great for membrane type structures like panels, casings, thin sheets where the thickness doesn't change much. Remember this simple rule: thin and wide means shell element can be used. So here are some biomechanics examples where shell elements fit perfectly. Take the skull. It's only about 5 millimeters thick but spans over 150 millimeters in diameter. That's a clear thin to wide ratio, ideal for shells. Then blood vessels, about 1 millimeter thick and hundreds of millimeters long. Again, shells capture their bending and membrane behavior really well. And finally, heart valve leaflets, extremely thin and flexible, around half a millimeter thick generally, and perfect candidates for using shell elements. So, in conclusion, here's the simple takeaway. If you can ignore what's happening through the thickness, use shell elements. They'll save you time and computation. But if you need to know what's going on inside the thickness, the gradients and the details, go with the solid elements. That's really the essence of choosing the right element type between solids and shells. And that's a wrap for today's video. Hope this helped you understand when to use solid elements and when shells make more sense. If you found this useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Modeling Guy for more FEA and other simulation related content. Drop a comment below if you have questions or ideas for the next topic. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.